Hello there, and thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting simple, loose watercolor flowers using just a flat shader. If you do like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also so you can tune in for more beginner-friendly tutorials, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Grab your paints and let's get started. So today I'm painting in my Artisto watercolor sketchbook. It is 140 pound, but it is a cellulose paper. You've seen me use it before, I'm sure. I have my Royal Talens Van Gogh paints in my palette, jar of water, and a paper towel. And this is the one and only brush we're using today. It is my size 16 Princeton flat shader. So the reason I wanted to use just a flat shader is because I just wanted to change things up a bit. If you always grab a round brush and you're doing your flowers, you develop muscle memory, which is great because that just makes your painting easier. But you often kind of forget to branch off from that muscle memory and try something a little different. So that's what we're going to do today with this size 16 flat shader. You can get a lot of different strokes out of a flat shader. Okay, so let's get started. I won't go into a lot of detail about all the strokes you can get from a flat shader. I can, maybe we'll do that in another video if you would like to see that, but I'll just kind of talk through them as I do it. So as I mentioned, you get muscle memory built up when you're using one particular brush, and you tend to do the same stroke. So we're just going to try a few different things with this flat shader, and I'm just going to use Rose for my primary color. Okay, it's just a nice light pink. And because these are going to be really loose, this is just going to kind of help us change our strokes up a bit. So we're not just going to go in and go, you know, swoosh, swoosh, and do petals. These are loose. We're just going to kind of get in the hang of just doing something a little different with our brush. Okay, so I'm just going to put my brush down and kind of squiggle it around. See how you get a nice little petal shape? Okay, but it's not really contrived or, you know, predetermined. It's just going to do things that don't normally happen with a round brush. I'm going to rinse my brush off in my water, and I'm just going to kind of move this around a little bit. You just got these kind of interesting variations in this pink. But you see, you can push your paint around, pull it down a bit, pick it up. I have to mention that this is a fairly stiff brush, so it's kind of versatile. And then you can also go back into your paint and just use the side of your brush and get these really kind of thin. I'm going to go actually right into pure pigment there just to show you. Okay, so you can just go on the edge of your brush, the corners kind of, okay, and just kind of put deeper values throughout your flower. And I don't want to get carried away because I'm going to be going in with a second color. And my second color is going to be yellow ochre with just a little bit of raw umber in there, not too much. Okay, so I'm going to just tap the excess water off my brush. And I don't want this too highly pigmented. So it's about a medium wash. And I'm just going to start doing the same thing up here. Okay, so I'm just kind of dabbing paint down, pushing it around with my brush, and just letting that kind of do whatever it wants to do. You can, whoops, got a big splash of water there. You can also go in while that's wet, go into pure pigment, and just do some little lines, like so. And that'll just bleed out. But see, you can get some really fine points with this brush, okay? Some fine lines. But we're really just experimenting here. So I'm going to go back into that rose, and we're going to do the same thing. Maybe do one over here. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the corner of my brush like that. Maybe use the flat tip part and then kind of push some up here. So you'll find that when you just introduce a different brush that has a little bit of a different shape, that you're going to start doing different things with it, okay? But you can get nice roundish, soft petal edges. Just because it's flat doesn't mean you're going to get flat, boring lines, okay? So I highly recommend switching up your brushes. And you'll notice that I'm limiting myself to these brushes. I'm only using this one. I just want to see what it can do. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just push this yellow around, clean my brush off, blend it down into this pink so it can just kind of mingle a bit, like so. And then I'm going to go into that straight pink pigment and just tap some in again. Like that. And I can even just kind of push this around and lighten things up a bit. Because this is a stiff brush, it actually moves the paint around and lifts quite well. Like if I feel this is getting a little heavy, see how I'm just picking that up? Okay, I don't want these to get too heavy. And we'll do a third one down here. Maybe we'll have this one kind of facing the side a little bit. So you see, I'm just trying different things. I'm turning my brush, using the fine edge on it like that, using just a corner, pushing that paint around. Okay, so you've got your base of your flower established, and I'm going to rinse off my brush. It's still wet, and I'm just going to kind of push this paint around. And you can see, because these bristles are stiff, that it's just not kind of flopping around. So you can really kind of control that paint. Now we'll go into the yellow. That might be a little too much. Just put some over here. And I'm not mixing the colors together too much deliberately. I'm kind of letting them go in and mingle together on their own. Just use the edge of my brush here just to get some shapes throughout the flower a little bit. And I'm also leaving, you'll see I'm leaving white space. If I don't leave some little areas of white in there, it's just going to kind of get mushy and flat, and that's not what we want here. And remember that this is going to continue to bleed, okay? So this is why you don't want to overwork it too much, because you may think you're putting the paint where you want it to go, but it's going to bleed and migrate beyond that. So don't get carried away with kind of overworking it and trying to, you know, over control the paint. So we've got 3 flowers. Let's do another one over here that maybe has a little more yellow than pink in it. See what that gives us. Maybe have this one facing almost completely sideways, maybe a little down. See, now I'm just tapping. So I'm just experimenting, trying different things with this brush. Just like that. I'm going to clean my brush off and just kind of wiggle and move that paint around. But I don't want to lose the crispness of that edge, okay? Maybe I'll just go in and bring some up here. And we'll go into that yellow again, which I'm running low on. And we'll start at the edge this time, the outside edge of the petals. And you see, I'm just, like I say, I'm just trying different things. Go in and wet my brush and just kind of move this around a bit. Maybe get a little pink and just drag a little line up like so. And I'm not going too heavy with the yellow. I want these to be very loose and organic. Now I've got 4 flowers down there. I don't like 4 flowers. I don't like even numbers. So we're going to put a little, maybe a semi-open flower in down here. So again, I'm just using the corner of my brush and I'm just tapping. Maybe do a little quick flick like that, just to have the brush kind of control what's happening as opposed to me really kind of trying to control it. And I'm just going to go in with a wet brush, just soften that edge a bit and just let that do its little bleed. And we'll tap a little bit of that yellow in there. A little bit of that raw umber. And I'm just going to do, because I want this to be still like a little bud kind of, I'm just going to tap around just like that. Maybe kind of wiggle and squish some around. Clean my brush off and just nudge some water in there so they can kind of merge together. But I'm going to leave this, excuse me, I'm going to leave this hard edge and just kind of let it do whatever. And that's that. Those are my flowers. I kind of like the way they look. I don't want it overworked, like I said. I could probably go in and just tap in a little bit of deeper pink towards the base of some of them, but I don't want to overwork it. I really like the flow of that one. Now this is a non-cotton paper, as I mentioned, so it's going to have a little less movement on these bleeds. And I think I'll leave it at that. So now we're going to go in and put in some stems and some leaves. And I've got a little mixture here that I was using earlier today. It's sap green, a little bit of olive green, and just a touch of permanent blue violet. And that's like an opposite on the color wheel, so that's going to make it brown. So I'm just going to put just the slightest amount in. I always like to tap it over here first so I don't kill my green right away. Okay, so just like that. And I'm going to tap the excess off my brush. And I've got a fairly flat edge on that now. So I'm just going to go into the tip, just the corner of my brush, and just do these loose lines up. I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to come up here. Okay, so I'm just coming up to that flower. Okay, and my lines are squiggly and broken. And again, I'm still just using the corner of my brush. It's kind of losing its flatness, so I'm just gonna tap. And I'm just using a very light hand because I don't want these bristles to kind of splay out on me. I want to try to keep that thinner edge. And then we'll join up with this guy. And I want to also put some green just around the base of that flower, as if it's just kind of bloomed and the sepals are kind of hanging down. Okay, so I'm just using that flat edge of my brush and just kind of squiggling these little sepals. Like so. And do this flower over here. And you see I'm being very loose with it. And this one you can actually kind of come up the flower a bit because it is a bud. So it will still be a little encased in those sepals, like so. Okay, now the stems have faded quite a bit. I'm just going to go in and darken just some areas of them. I kind of like that broken edge and the looseness of it. So I won't, go in and paint a solid line. And I don't really need all the stems, or prefer not to have all the stems one solid color or one solid tone. It's all the same color, but I'm just putting in little different values. It just adds a little bit of interest. Now we can take that same green, which I'm running low on. I'm just going to mix a little bit more. And this is a little heavier pigmented than when I did the stems and the sepals. So we're just going to do some leaves now. And you're not going to get that, pressure tip to get that kind of flowing leaf. We're just going to kind of make them by twisting our brush. Okay, so let's just do one here and just see what kind of shapes it can make for us. And if you want, before you jump into a painting, you can just try different shapes of leaves with this brush to see what you can get. Like I'm just pushing down and then just kind of twisting. These are really organic and free leaves. I'm not really trying to make a leaf shape. Well, I'm trying to make a leaf shape, but I'm not painting a leaf shape. I'm just doing it with the movement of the brush. See how you can get that kind of really nice curved over look just with one simple stroke? That's what I like about the flat shader. It doesn't let you really control what's going on, and you can get some interesting things with your petals and leaves. So that's it. There is a very simple loose watercolor floral using only the flat shader. So I highly suggest putting down the round brush every now and then and just picking something up that's a little different and just seeing what you can create with it and the different shapes just by twisting and using the tips and using the edges. It really does help kind of break or expand that muscle memory that you may have developed by constantly using a round brush. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you found this helpful, and thanks again so much for joining me. Take care, and I will see you next time.